instructions to the world's large, and this is beautiful. It's beautiful, it's large, and it smells.
Yes, have I got this right now? The Rafflesia, also known as the corpse flower, has intrigued botanists for centuries, found in Southeast Asia. There it is. It has no leaves, stems or roots, and it feeds on just jungle vines. Now,
it is under threat, actually, because of deforestation. And Head of Science at Oxford Botanic Garden, Dr. Chris Thorogood, is on a mission to save the Rafflesia and joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You've seen it. You were the first. You were in Indonesia
and the Philippines.
And the Philippines, and you were the first Westerner to see a certain species.
That's right,
of this flower. Can you just describe? I mean, it looks absolutely stunning, but there's a reason it's called the corpse flower or the rotting flesh flower.
Yeah, it's not so glamorous. So, I mean, it's an extraordinary thing, as you can see. So it's the world's largest flower. It spans up to 1 metre across.
So it's almost as big as this desk that we're at?
Yeah, it's just astonishing to see one, honestly.
And is it high or is it quite low?
No, it's quite close to the ground. It's sort of nestled among vines. And it barely looks like a plant at all. So as you said, Charlie, you know, it doesn't have any stems or leaves, doesn't have any chlorophyll. So it's like I think of it as like a vampire plant because it steals its food from a vine. It's an extraordinary thing. And to see one, honestly, is the closest thing to magic.
What does it smell like? And how soon do you smell it?
It depends on the species, Naga. So there are some where you can barely smell it at all and you have to get quite close. There are some that smell to me exactly like bad chicken. So if you open a packet of chicken that's gone off, it's like that. And there was one we saw in Java, one species that smelt pretty horrendous, and we smelt it before we saw it. So it varies.
And it attracts the flies, doesn't it?
Right.
Like if you've got bad stuff in your bin or something,
yeah.
you know, like
Yeah,
it attracts
exactly.
the flies like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a flower with personality.
Yeah.
So it mimics rotting meat, hence its other common name that you mentioned, to attract flies to pollinate it. And it offers these flies no reward in the form of nectar, as we think of in pollination in most flowers. So it's a big sham, basically. So it's an extraordinary thing.
We can see the close-ups there, and well...
Oh, yes, yeah, that was one we saw a couple of weeks ago in the forest of Sumatra.
It almost looks like some kind of a mushroom or something, the texture to it. We all like the idea of a quest, Chris.
Yes.
And just tell us, I mean, clearly, because so few people have seen these things, not easy to get to.
No.
You know, you are hacking your way through some serious... What are the conditions like?
No, that's right, Charlie. So some of them you can reach, they're quite accessible. There are some species that honestly are so difficult to find, so you have to trek for a long period of time, and I'm accompanied by people I have a tremendous respect for, local people and foresters, who sometimes have to machete a tunnel through the vegetation to actually reach these flowers, and you get bitten and scratched to bits and covered in leeches.
OK, tell us a bit more about that, because we like hearing stories like that. You come face-to-face, I understand you were face-to-face with a cobra, is that right?
No, they've exaggerated that. Yeah, I mean, there are cobras in the bits we go to, and we're told to be careful of them, but I wouldn't say I've come face to face.
You didn't do that, but you're in and around clearly dangerous things.
Yeah,
but
no,
you're
that's
guided
right.
well.
Yeah, I mean, there are risks to going to these places, and I'm very clear on those. So, you know, there are sometimes places with armed conflict, there are deadly snakes, there are tropical diseases, and these are not places you can go to as a tourist. So I have special permission to go to these places, and we're very careful. But yes, you do have to fight your way to find some of these Rafflesia flowers.
Did the leeches attach themselves to you?
Oh, yeah, very much, yes.
Where? On your ankles?
No, all over, actually.
Oh, they just drop from the trees?
Well, I've noticed they start on your shoes and they work their way up. And then the trick is not to rip them off. Why didn't you put your socks over the bottom of your trousers? I do all of that, everything, but they find a way. Oh. And actually, the trick is not to rip them off, because then they sort of unleash blood all over, and it looks like a bit of a massacre. So
tell me, so you're going on a mission...
Sorry, what is the trick to getting a leech off then?
Well, I was told...
Not that I think I'm going to have to...
So I stayed with a lovely group of people, a tribe, an indigenous community in the north of the Philippines, and they told me to just leave them. And they said when they've had their fill, they'll fall. So
nice.
Just leave.
Just be food.
So you have these sort of string of leeches hanging from your arm, and you're told to leave them.
So there you are, stumbling through the undergrowth, covered in leeches.
Yes.
And presumably, with your expertise and your knowledge, are you just literally looking around going, oh, my word, look at that. Oh, my word. I mean, you must presumably be constantly thinking, am I going to see something else that is not seen before.
No, that's absolutely right, Charlie. So on one of the expeditions in 2022, within half an hour of going to this particular rainforest, we found a species of lipstick vine that's new to science. So
Say that again.
Lipstick vine, Aescyananthus is the scientific name, and we're just describing it with my colleagues in the Philippines. We've not submitted the work yet, but
what is that? A vine, as in that we would recognise?
Yes, it's very pretty actually. It's got little white tubular flowers with red spots, but it's not known to science, so we haven't described
Why
it
have you
yet.
called it the lipstick vine?
Oh, that's not my name for it. So that's the name for the group of Aescyananthus, but this particular species is
And
new.
didn't you take some vine and you're hoping for something to happen?
So what we did, coming back to Rafflesia, the world's largest flower, our work there has shown that this is very much a plant in peril. So 67% of populations of Rafflesia, we estimate, fall outside of protected jurisdictions. And it's very much threatened, as you mentioned at the beginning, by land conversion. So we need to do better for protecting Rafflesia. It's a plant that's very difficult to grow. The seeds don't store well in freezers or fridges, so that's a problem. And we learned from an expert in Indonesia who knows how to propagate this plant from one vine onto another.
Because they feed off vines, don't they?
That's exactly right, Naga. So it lives inside a vine, so it's what we call an endoparasite. So it's an extraordinary thing that you hardly ever see, and it only becomes visible when it flowers.
It's like the monster out of Alien.
Yeah, no, it very much is, yeah, and it's an extraordinary thing. And so we learnt how to grow it, and then we took that knowledge back to the Philippines, where we're hoping to propagate it to protect the plant. So it's a nice, optimistic story, actually.
Well, it's a great story, actually. It's a great story, and it is a quest. And it's all in the book, isn't it? This is Pathless Forest, The Quest, there you go, to save the world's largest flowers. Out now.
Right, yeah.
Thank you for bringing the pictures in as well, because they're absolutely stunning.
Thank you,
Chris,
Charlie.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Naga. Thanks so much.